The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. My name is Foy Mainor, and I am with Paramount Workplace, and we are at the top of the hour. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with our webinar today, where we will present the Paramount Workplace solution from a procurement standpoint integrated to Acumatica. I'm going to walk through some PowerPoint slides to tell you a little bit more about Paramount, set the stage for the presentation, and then we'll also do a short demo in the 30 minutes that we have allotted for the webinar today. So on the screen, you should be able to see a Paramount Workplace logo. If you do have any concerns, you're having any issues with either the audio or what you're seeing, please use the chat window. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask the questions using the question section available within the GoToWebinar. And Darcy Boerio, who is helping me out here today, will be answering the questions as we go along. And if there's any questions at the end that I need to address, then we'll take care of those as well. So with our housekeeping done, again, thank you very much for taking some time today to spend with us to learn a little bit more about our solutions. Now, Paramount Workplace as an organization was founded in 1995. So for more than 24 years, we've always done spend management solutions. And we are headquartered just outside of Detroit in the metropolitan area. I myself am located just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. I have been with Paramount for a little over 17 and a half years. And what I've always done and what we've always done is position spend management solutions, which include requisition and procurement, our focus today, expense management for reimbursement, AP automation, and then we also do some project-related features and functions as well. And we offer and provide these solutions mobile on an app that's available with both Apple and Android, and then also web-based, accessed via your browser. We are a worldwide organization with over than 131,000 users. Our procurement solution can run standalone, meaning it can be independent of any back office or financial solution, but the vast majority of our customers use the seamless integration that we provide to the different ERPs we integrate to, including Acumatica, in order to validate information like vendors and GL accounts as you go through the process, and then be able to seamlessly pass that information over into Acumatica once the transaction is complete. Since we have been in business for so long, we have many different types of customers from a deployment standpoint. Software as a service or cloud-based. We can also be hosted by a third party, or where those circumstances require, we can also be deployed on premise. So we are very flexible in how and where we can be deployed from that particular standpoint, primarily depending upon the ERP that we're integrating to, but then also the needs of the customer. And it is designed to be easy for employees to get their request in, effective for management to be able to quickly, easily approve what needs to be approved, and then powerful for accounting because it is integrating to the back office system to again pass that information over once the transactions have been complete. And our solution is certified for Acumatica. All right, with that, let's jump into some of the differentiation and why you should look at a procurement solution overall. And one of those reasons is catalogs. So you have guided buying catalogs, which are essentially internal catalogs that you as an organization can set up. You can get a download from the vendor. You can manually create the catalogs. The benefit of internal catalogs is that you can configure those catalogs by vendor, by location, by type of item. So you're in control. It's going to be whatever items you want to be on that catalog. It's going to be at the pricing that you've established for that particular item within that catalog, and you're going to be able to control the access to those catalogs for the user. So when you give the user a simple, easy, straightforward shopping experience, a consumer-based experience, meaning that they're used to this in their day-to-day lives, you're going to make it easier for them to enter their request. And when things are easier, they're more likely to adopt the change and the functions so that you recognize the benefits of a procurement solution. And then you can have the catalogs be the primary experience for the user so that as soon as the cart is complete, you're able to generate a requisition, immediately submit it for approval, and then have it be approved before a purchase order is created. So catalogs, which we'll look at in a little bit more detail in a minute, are a very critical part of the experience. You've also got punch-out capabilities. Now, punch-out takes catalogs to a different level and a little bit of a different direction. And I say that because when you're punching out, you're going directly to a vendor's site. So that means the vendor maintains the catalog for you as their customer. And this is very popular with office supply vendors. It's very popular in the medical and healthcare industry as well, so that you have these vendors, and Office Depot shows there on the screen, where you have a relationship, you're maintaining the catalogs with the vendor, your items, again, your pricing, and allow the user to build a shopping cart, check out, except now when those items get pulled in onto the requisition, they're going to route for approval before that purchase order can be created and the order can be complete with the vendor. And again, from a punch-out standpoint, you can control the access of your users to the punch-out catalogs. As soon as they're approved, you're going to create a PO, and then that purchase order is sent electronically to the vendor. So a very powerful capability, very popular, with the keywords being punch-out via standard CXML. And we can always address specific vendors as needed. We also list some vendors on our website if you're curious about your vendor having these capabilities. And approvals. So approvals are very important throughout the process. As I mentioned earlier, I've been with Paramount for over 17 and a half years. And when I first started doing this, approvals were one of the key talking points that we worked on. How do you stop somebody from doing something? How do you eliminate or reduce maverick spending, which is essentially asking for forgiveness rather than asking for permission? So we focused a lot on the approval process. And that's just not what can you approve by, but it's how do you walk items through the approval process? How do you get those items approved in an efficient and an effective manner? So we offer unlimited levels of approval, unlimited approval paths. So you can make sure that all the items can be fully approved before a purchase order can be created. We offer line level approval, meaning you can route each line independently for approval based upon the department, the expense type, the location, the item class, and many more criteria can be used. So line item approvals are very critical. So if you've got a requisition that's got multiple departments and one line needs to go to Department A for the manager's approval there, but the other line needs to go to Department B and so on, and then you also need to have approvals by amount or type of item, we can handle that. You can do that. We typically see that most approvals are 1 or 2 people, but when you need those detailed approvals, it's available within the application so that you can make sure that all these items get approved. Again, it's easy for the user. Let the user enter whatever it is that they want or need, but we'll handle the approval processes. And you'll notify the approver by email when you have items pending your approval. You can approve from within the email. You can approve from the mobile app. You can have ad hoc approvers to add additional approvers during the process. You can have alternates to approve in the place of the original approver. You can remind approvers to approve after a certain period of time. You can bypass levels of approval. So again, approvals are behind the scenes. One of those things that may be hard to really look at and focus and see, but it's very critical and very important to have the flexibility and the configurability of very robust approval rules and routing rules. And then extend the functionality out to the mobile devices via an app available for both Apple and Android, and then allow users to enter transactions, shop internal catalogs, submit and create requisitions, allow approvers to approve requisitions, and allow users to view the history of what happened to those transactions as they went throughout the whole entire process. And then you're able to see all of that and again extend that functionality out to the mobile app. So as I've been talking through these slides, what we're always trying to do is enhance the user's experience, take advantage of technology today and what users are familiar with, mobile apps, excuse me, shopping and catalogs, and extend that into the business environment, and then make it more effective and efficient for the users of the workplace application. And then smart invoice capture, using OCR capabilities to scan and read the information from the invoices, both for invoices that you may match to a PO, but then also for non-PO invoices, which we call a check request. Leverage that functionality to automatically populate the information, and then still leverage the robust approval processes and ultimately the integration that we offer. So that would be a key component, or can be a key component, to the overall process to further automate it there. So from an Acumatica standpoint, the guided buying catalogs, the punch out, the approvals, the mobile access are all critical. And then you can always find more information and more details here on our website. Now, I've got one last slide. The slide does say thank you, but we're not done yet. I'm going to jump into the product here for just a moment, but I did want to go ahead and put this slide up so that you can see that and have our contact information, and then also have access to a procure to pay calculator that's offered there. And then I'll come back and put this slide up at the very end as well, but I want to go ahead and have that available if you need more information and more details than what you can gather on this webinar. And with that, I'll close down the PowerPoint. I'll go to my browser window, and we're going to take a look at the software and again do a high-level overview based upon some of the topics that we just discussed. So this is a browser-based or web-based solution accessed via your browser. We support Safari, Firefox, Chrome, as well as Internet Explorer. I use Chrome as my preferred browser, so I'm going to log in as a user by entering my username and password. When you log in, you start off on a home page, and the home page is designed to provide you with important information for the user at a glance, but then also give the capability to drill down and start performing additional functions and features as well. So it could be something as simple as announcements, providing information to the user. It could be metrics, which are graphical representations of data that you can allow the user to have access to based upon their security rights, so that they can see details and see information. It can also be your outstanding transactions. Now, we're going to send out email notifications throughout the process. You can view history on the mobile app, but the outstanding transactions is going to show you your transactions, or the transactions that you should and need access to, and where they are in the process. So as long as one line is still open on the requisition in this example, you're going to be able to see the requisition, a name of the requisition, a status of the requisition. If different lines have different statuses, you'll see where those are in the process. If they're waiting for approval, you'll see who they're waiting for approval from. And if you need more information or more details, you can click drill down on these transactions, and there's an audit log that will show you where the requisition is in process, what has happened to it, what needs to happen to it as it goes through each of those steps. And you've also got those catalogs that we talked about. So first off, as I mentioned earlier, catalogs can be internal guided buying catalogs that are set up and maintained by the customer, or they can be punch out catalogs to go out to a vendor. Catalogs can be restricted and controlled by user for their access. So you're only going to be able to access those catalogs. And when you do have access, click, you're going to be able to see pictures and descriptions and pricing for items. You can categorize items, search for and find items, see additional information and additional details. So again, as you can see, a consumer-based experience where they can see and get all of the details they need, and then simply build a shopping cart. So they're going to build a cart from those items. If you have multiple catalogs that you can shop other catalogs and continue to build your cart. Once you're done building your cart, review the cart, update or remove any of the items, and then click on Create Order Requisition. And at this point, you could be done, meaning that that requisition could be submitted, it could route for approval, and there would be nothing else that the user would need to do. But we've got more capabilities as far as entry of requisitions. The next one we talked about was punch out. So if you need to punch out to a vendor like Office Depot, You can go to the vendor's website. Again, you can shop that site. This is your site with that vendor, with your items that you can go in and view the different items. You can search by keyword or by item number to find what it is that you need. Once you find the items that you're looking for, enter a quantity, add those items to your cart, continue to build the cart, and when you're done building the cart, check out. Except now at this point, when you check out, you're actually pulling the item back onto the requisition. So there's our 5 dozen ballpoint stick pens from Papermate, and you'll see them as line number 3 on the requisition here, and that will route for approval. Once fully approved and a PO is created, it'll send that PO electronically to the vendor. That will complete the transaction, and then they will ship you those items. You've also got a shopping list. A shopping list is a predefined list or template of items. It's essentially a favorites list. So with this favorites list, you can always come in and shop the list that you have access to. These can be set up by user, by department, or made available system-wide. So if you have access to the list, click the list, and then whatever I put a quantity for here are going to be what will now go over onto the requisition. So you'll see the next 2 lines on the requisition came from that shopping list. I could shop other lists if needed and continue to add items to the requisition, but that's a quick and easy way, especially for regular requested items, to be entered here. You also can use an item master or potentially inventory list, again, depending upon your setup, where you can use the item field here to search for and find items that are either in that item master or inventory and enter those. And then you can also always, if you're allowed to, manually enter what it is that you'd like to request. And again, that is a valid line on the requisition as long as you meet the required fields. So there's now 7 different lines on the requisition. You can see if you missed anything, if there's not something that was either automatically populated or defaulted, you need to come in and put those details in. So we're always going to validate the information and details as we go along here. But that's a requisition that is valid. One of the key things to point out is that the lines are independent. Line 1 is from Best Buy. Line 2 is from Staples. So you're able to see that information there. Sorry, excuse me. You're able to see that information there down here on the General tab. Line 3 is from Office Depot. So the overall point there is the information on this General tab can be different. So it can be different based upon the information that's either defaulted in or the information that has been added. That goes back to the overall point of routing for approval. Each line can route independently for approval there as well. So with that requisition entered, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go back to a previous requisition that I entered, and I'm going to show you a couple of other things in the interest of time today. So one moment. We're going to go back here to one that I did earlier and just show you a couple of different things. So this is a requisition that's got 8 different lines. I've already submitted this requisition. In addition to being able to see the status on the dashboard at the beginning, you can also see a status here and see what has happened to those requisitions. In addition to being able to enter the items, you could also attach files. So if you need to attach files at the line level or at the header level, you can do that. And you'll be able to see the inline attachment view over here on the left-hand side. And that'll be a part of the requisition. It'll flow through the overall requisition process and be able to be viewed by other users. You also have comments. You can enter comments for the different lines. So you can have a vendor comment such as I need these as soon as possible. You can also have internal comments for additional information, longer descriptions, special instructions, or even justification of why you're making that request. So you can add additional information and additional details if you need to. Like I said a moment ago, we could have stopped at the catalog shopping experience and be done. But when you have items that need additional information, additional details, more parts of this, then you have those that can show there and be able to view and see that particular information. So we're going to go ahead and go back to our main page here and then cover a few other different areas on the actual requisition as I log out as that user. So I mentioned emails go out. So you send out an email notification. The email will go out letting the user know that they have requisitions pending their approval. You can see the details. You can see the comments. You can see the attachments if the attachments are available for the user. There are links in the email. So you can click on the link to take you into Workplace to approve or disapprove those items. You can also reply to the message. If you reply to the message, there are brackets in the email. Use the Y to approve. Use the N to disapprove at the header, or you can also go down to the line level. You can approve with a Y, you can disapprove with an N, and you can enter notes to the requester, and those go in an email and also appear on the log. So you can actually get the email, approve from within the email without logging into the Workplace application. You can also use your mobile app, as I mentioned earlier, and then with the mobile app, you have the capability to shop internal catalogs or add items manually. So click on the catalog, pick the item, add items to your cart, shop multiple catalogs if you have access to more than one catalog, continue to select items and add those items to your cart. That will either build the cart, and that cart will be available within your browser window, or you can also access the cart here, update, remove any items, and then create the requisition. So again, extending the catalog shopping experience out to the mobile app to be able to create requisitions and then also approve requisitions. You're able to come in and view what is pending approval, pick that information, and then approve or disapprove the different lines on the requisition with notes. So that's the approval via the mobile app as well. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier on, there's also history. So you can come in and view the history of those requisitions on the mobile app. All right, so we've talked a little bit about requisition entry. We've talked about the approval processes that are available. If I log back in as a user here from an approval standpoint, and if we go back into that previous requisition that we were looking at, there is the audit log. So you're able to come in here and view the details. The details will show you the approval path. So you can see that Lisa and Ben need to approve that particular line. So the arrow indicates the pending approver. You've also got alternate approvers that can approve in the place of the original approver if they've been enabled or activated. And then here's your log, and you can see that that line's been submitted once, disapproved for providing additional information, and then has been submitted again with those additional details. So there's your audit log and your audit trail of everything that's available for that particular line and then where it is in the process. All right, so we've talked about the procurement process. I'm not going to walk through the whole approval today or the creation of the PO or receiving an invoice matching. Those are very similar processes as to what we're looking at here. I wanted to give you a really good idea of some of the key elements of why you should look at Workplace. If you need to see the entire process, we can certainly do that on another demo, and I'll be able to walk through and show you that there. The last thing I want to show you before we see if there's any questions at the very end of today's webinar is the Invoice Capture functionality. So if I log out of the application and I come over here to my login, I'm going to log in as a user who has the ability to do the Invoice Capture. And when you have that capability, you're going to have an Accounts Payable tab here, and you'll have the Invoice Capture queue. So when you have the Invoice Capture queue, then you're going to be able to drag and drop any invoices into the area down here at the bottom, and then I could grab that there. You're also going to be able to email invoices in. So if you have an email, then you are provided with one based upon this particular service. Any invoices that you drop in that email will also go into the queue. And then in addition, as a part of this service, is also an FTP site. So whether you drag or drop, email, or use the FTP site, items are populated into the queue. Once items are populated into the queue, if they're able to be read correctly, then they will create a transaction, submit that transaction for approval, and route through the process. If they're not able to be read correctly, then they're going to ask you to come in and make corrections. So when you click on Make Corrections, it'll go back out to the OCR window. It'll open up that invoice, and then it's going to ask you to indicate where the information is, and you'll be able to come in and provide that. If it can't find the information, you can teach it and tell it where that information is, so you're always able to make adjustments. If you need to be able to tell it where the vendor name is, then you just simply highlight the field and show it where the vendor name is. If you need to be able to provide any addresses, that is capable too. So on the OCR capabilities, you're actually teaching it as you do this. There's artificial intelligence and machine learning available to be able to have that information pulled in. And once you're done, then you simply save that, and then that'll create that workplace transaction. So that would be the quick overview of the OCR functionality. Key things to note there is that works with both purchase order invoices as well as non-PO invoices, and also you can teach the system as it goes on. So just start dropping the invoices in immediately and then have those go through the process. And with that, what I'm going to do here, since we have just a few minutes left in our 30 minutes that we have scheduled, I'm going to pop the contact information slide back up, and then I'm going to see if there are any questions that I can help with. All right, so I don't show any questions currently that are there that are still left open from a response standpoint. So if you do have any questions, I will leave this meeting open for a few more minutes in order to address those. If not, I will thank you very much again for attending, and feel free to reach out to us if we can answer additional questions, provide a more in-depth demonstration, and then give you any of the details that you may need. So with that, I will make another check for questions, and I'll hang here for a few minutes and see if there's anything else. All right, everybody, I don't see any additional questions coming in. Thank you for those who provided some comments, though. I really appreciate it. Always glad to present our solution and help out anybody out that may need to look deeper into spend management and specifically procurement. With that, I'm going to go ahead and close this meeting. I did record the meeting, so that recording will be available if you'd like to review it and or share that with anybody else. But again, thank you very much.